Rebellion has sprung out everywhere. People are rising up, loudly and unwaveringly protecting you. They're not just furious. They're horrified by the blatant disrespect you've experienced. They've got enough of standing there and watching you be struck. The breaking moment has come. This is a massive movement of strong friends standing solid, shoulders back, and ready to battle. Not some small-scale help. Not only is the tide changing, but a surge of defenders who will not be silenced is sweeping across the region. The force that makes the ground under your feet tremble is so powerful that the masterminds of deceit can feel it in their bones. What you're seeing is a cosmic awakening, not just a shift. They tried to isolate you in order to give you the idea that you were the only one standing up to their system of lies. But look at you. Legends are now advocating for you. Their voices combine to generate a thunderous chorus that echoes across both the visible and unseen worlds. The defenders enter with loud statements that shake the very foundations of the corrupt empire that has been built against you, not with timid whispers. These defenders did not just turn up. They did this because the truth cannot be suppressed eternally. It surges to the surface, erupting with overwhelming rage. Much like lava under the Earth's crust, the webs of falsehoods that have been spun around your life are now being burned away by your tale, your truth, which has resulted in that explosion. Without a doubt, your opponents deployed every weapon in their dark arsenal against you, unleashing them with perfect precision. Instead of you dissolving and disappearing into the darkness that they produced, their attacks have become the same thing that awoke your defenders. Every assault on you has pushed those who can see beyond the curtain more determined. This is active protection, not just assistance. This proclamation declares that typical manipulative games will no longer be permitted. Your defenders are not just speaking up. They're taking a stand, planting their feet firmly on the battlefield. Your enemies have entrenched themselves and are not moving an inch. The battle they started is now returning to them, not because of you, but because of the collective power of everyone who refuses to stand by and let injustice go unchecked with each passing second. The armies of truth seekers increase in number as more people become aware of the evident corruption geared against you. The scales have fallen from their eyes. People who were previously on the sidelines, unclear about what to believe. I can now plainly see how the system was stacked against you from the outset. It is difficult to see what is underneath the elevated curtain. Your rivals created their tales with a feeling of superiority, believing that their authority would never be questioned. However, they underestimated the power of actual truth and the openness of their manipulations. When they were analyzed by brains that were no longer willing to accept prefabricated falsehoods instead of the skepticism that your adversaries intended to instill. Your name is now talked reverently everywhere. The questions that were formerly aimed at you are now directed straight at the ones who organized your trial by fire. And the whispers of doubt have turned into yells of support. How dare they? These remarks resonate across conversations on many platforms and in both local and big groups. How can they attempt to destroy someone whose only mistake was to stand in their way? How dare they create phony realities? How dare they modify what we see? Every well-crafted tale your opponents have thrown into the world has been devoured by the raging firestorm of contempt that is spreading like wildfire. If your heart is overflowing with God's blessings, let that love radiate. Click the super thank you button and donate $100 or more to sow seeds of faith that will touch countless lives. Your giving exemplifies His richness. Be a channel for His grace and watch His kingdom grow through you. When your name is spoken, people who have never met you in person suddenly rally in your support. They can recognize indicators of corruption because they have seen enough evidence of an organized campaign against you, even if those who were skeptical are now accurate. Their mistrust has turned into enthusiastic enthusiasm. They do more than just acknowledge the wrong. They vigorously combat it wherever it appears. Defenders are putting up an unprecedented struggle against defamation, falsehoods, and character assassination, refusing to allow these practices to go unchallenged. Observe how they scurry. See the horror in their eyes when they realize their grip is slipping. The myth they once ruled with iron hands now eludes them like sand lost in the winds of truth, never to be retrieved. Every effort to recover control only serves to expose them more. Their assertions grow more pitiful, illogical, and deceptive. The obvious. Even the casual spectator now finds previously faultless tactics uncomfortable and apparent. Even when the emperor is naked, he's still discussing the elaborate clothing that no one else can see. They believe they have complete control over reality and can alter perception at will. However, they now understand that truth may exist without agreement and that reality has no master. Their frantic effort to regain control becomes the precise thing that demonstrates how they are breaking apart. Observe how their claims get more ridiculous and less plausible with each passing day, as well as how their voices soften. This is the height of desperation, not strategy. This portrays the latter phases of a power structure built on sand and now being carried away by the tidal wave of awareness rising. Their mass diversionary tactics are no longer effective. The smokescreens they deploy to deflect criticism of their actions dissipate before they can fully materialize. As public knowledge spreads beyond their control, the platforms they commanded, the channels they controlled, and the algorithms they oversaw are all working against them. They meet behind closed doors, seeking to find solutions to a situation they never imagined would occur. The problem of truth is beginning to outweigh their fabrication. They devote resources to new narratives, assaults, and control techniques, only to have each one fail even more tragically than the previous. Can you sense their fear of losing control? It stems from every last-ditch attempt to silence the growing chorus of people speaking up for you. Every contradicting statement and frantic action they take is not out of strength, but because they see that their power was always a fantasy supported by a communal agreement that is now rapidly crumbling. They are truth searchers who have researched the facts, seen the injustice, and made the determined choice to stand firm in your defense at whatever cost. They are not just passive sympathizers. They transcend the manufactured divides that your opponents try to maintain and come from all walks of life. They are united by the shared belief that what happened to you is a fundamental wrong that requires a response, regardless of generation, origin, or viewpoint. Examine their cautious and precise motions. When falsehoods begin to emerge, they don't just disagree. They debunk them using facts, evidence, and reasoned reasoning, preventing the falsehood from taking root. They can identify any plan before it is completely deployed because they have studied the playbook used against you. Researchers discover linkages that show the orchestrated nature of the assaults, while journalists create captivating exposés that disclose the truth behind the charges. And the way speakers communicate with their listeners influences them to seek justice. These defenders contribute talent to the conflict via the most powerful network in existence: human connection. Ordinary people engage in debates that promote awareness. Their power comes from their love of the truth, not from their hostility against their rivals. They have greater endurance than your opponents may realize. Truth-based systems just need to accept that truth will always prevail, but deceptive systems need continual maintenance to avoid crumbling. You're here for a purpose. If you feel called, answer it. Click join to get access to rare information, in-depth insights, and a strong community. This is not just a membership. It is an awakening. Step into your divine mission. Join the chosen. Despite efforts to silence their voices, intimidation, and derision, your supporters remain unconcerned. Every assault they face merely strengthens their argument and demonstrates that they have uncovered a truth so terrible that the amount of troops engaged to suppress it only grows as observers understand how desperate such actions are. Your foes are now obtaining the notoriety they intended for you. However, unlike their staged operations, this disclosure reveals genuine corruption, manipulation, and abuses of power that can no longer be disguised. Their validity disappears in front of the public. The organizations they employed as weapons are now under intense public scrutiny, causing their underpinnings to disintegrate. The authority they claim to represent is now backing away because they do not want to drown alongside ships that are taking water at hitherto unheard of speeds. Your design downfall occurs when architects are unexpectedly faced with questions they are unable to answer. When questioned about their techniques, They provide unsatisfactory replies when presented with evidence of their cooperation. They hide behind technicalities, which only protect their identities and not their reputations when faced with the consequences of their actions. They blame everyone except themselves, who hold the ultimate responsibility for what a man sows, he will reap. Galatians 6-7. You see, my friends, the Lord works in ways we don't comprehend, but his justice is always impeccable. It's like a massive torrent cutting across the valley, sometimes gradual, sometimes abrupt, but always definite. A farmer planted his seeds in the spring, never doubting that the harvest will arrive. And when a man sows deception, manipulation, and control, he may believe he is standing strong, but the season of reaping will come. And let me tell you, when it happens, you can't negotiate with the dirt. Previously, these individuals believed they were untouchable. They built their kingdoms on hubris and the backs of those they wished to kill. They militarized systems, regulations, and public emotion, believing they could manipulate the world to their advantage. And for a time, it seemed to work. They sat high. Voices enhanced their effect, which spread far and wide. But allow me to tell you something. God is never mocked. The cosmos, his creation, cannot be managed endlessly. And now, the very barriers they created to keep others out have become their prism. The fire they started to destroy the innocent is now raging on their own doorstep. It is a heavenly reversal, a just shifting of the tide. Their judgmental eyes are now scrutinizing them. They don't like what they see. The ideals they formerly held up as gospel are now shackles around their own ankles. And do they cry out in repentance? No. My siblings and sisters flail. They yell. They are enraged at the skies because they believe they are above consequences. The once loyal comrades are gone, and the adoring throngs are decreasing. Corporations and institutions. They formerly relied on quiet investigations, removing every sign of their influence, not because they have suddenly discovered morality, but because the very existence of these fallen characters has become a burden. The platforms that once elevated them to gilded pedestals now enforce the identical norms they so proudly imposed on others. This is where the irony thickens, my friends. They created the sword, but it was never theirs to keep forever. The heavenly balance, the grand reckoning, has removed it from their hands. Now, just when they need that influence, power, and status the most, it evaporates like mist in the early light. The words that formerly influenced culture have fallen on deaf ears. The impassioned utterances become hollow echoes in empty rooms. I assure you now that what you see is not anarchy. This is a correction. It is not a coincidence. It is a result. The rising tide has met a sand-built home, and no matter how hard they try to strengthen it, the foundation falls because truth always triumphs over lies. Light will always reveal darkness, and God's justice will never be mocked. So don't be bothered by their commotion or distracted by their frantic efforts to recapture what was never really theirs. They are not the victims of persecution. They are witnesses to their own prophecy being fulfilled. They drafted the rules. They uphold the standards, and now they must follow them. The Lord has arranged everything in order. The principle of sowing and reaping has been accomplished, and now all that is left is stillness. Do not be deceived. What you observe extends beyond ordinary human problems. This is about cosmic balance, which occurs when universal standards of justice and truth manifest themselves against forces that believe they were immune. It is not only about personal vindication, but also about the simultaneous awakening of so many minds. The cascade of findings, as well as the growing failures of formerly reliable control systems, all point to an orchestration beyond mortal comprehension. Therefore, the timing cannot be coincidence. Even the most skeptical are in awe of the divine timing's exquisite expression. Your enemy has sought to get beyond cause and effect, natural law, and the fundamental fact that all energy ultimately returns threefold to the universe. They are now powerless to halt what they have begun. They must cope with the karmic tsunami that their deeds have created. Observe how apparently unconnected events come together to disclose what was hidden. Unexpected sources of information may disclose knowledge at critical moments. Witnesses uncover courageous technology records, which were previously thought to be securely buried and anonymous. Sources put everything on the line to ensure that the truth is exposed. All of this is the consequence of synchronized operation with surgical precision. Nothing occurs on accident. The flowering of heavenly justice does not follow human timetables. It serves a function that extends beyond our restricted perspective, addressing both outward indicators and underlying causes. It focuses not just on the individuals involved, but also on the larger structures that enabled their ascent. This is change on a scale that your opponents could never have predicted. It's more than simply a correction. They detect a shift in the cosmic current. Their previous justification is no longer available when global energies cease to sustain dishonest enterprises. The coincidences that previously let them escape are now working as hard to expose them. The serendipity that seemed to keep them one step ahead of the consequences suddenly vanishes. No amount of money can purchase an exemption. No relationship can provide sanctuary. No strategy can outweigh the fundamental balance that is occurring. And no earthly agency can intervene to halt this process once it has started. What was supposed to fall will fall. What was hidden will come to light. And what was built on lies will disintegrate, making way for architecture based on reality. The greatest win is attained when you hold steadfast in your beliefs and allow reality to back you, not by using force. You remain focused on authenticity, which does not need maintenance, coordination, or constant reinforcement to resist examination, but your enemies use all of their efforts crafting complicated falsehoods. Because the truth speaks with authority that phony tales cannot equal. You never had to develop counter-narratives. Authenticity connects in ways that a prepared message cannot. It touches the soul rather than just taking up brain space. Your patients demonstrated confidence, despite their frantic activities, revealing a security that no outward success could possibly conceal. Your stability served as a witness, whereas their changing views showed manipulation, and your silence said volumes. Whether many words produced simply noise. The defenders who are currently defending you knew something that your foes could never comprehend. True power is shown through endurance rather than loudness. They observed how strong you were in the face of hardship, which would have destroyed lesser individuals. They were motivated to join the increasing chorus. Victory is not the annihilation of your opponent, but rather their insignificance. It is not punishment, but rather the unavoidable consequence. It is not punishment, but rather the restoration of balance, which benefits everybody except those who gained from its absence. This success leaves only clarity to guide the path ahead. There is no leftover anger, no bad aftertaste, and no reason for further conflict. The people who formerly believed the tales about you are now questioning what they were told. The persons who helped propagate misinformation are now facing the consequences of their actions in perpetuating injustice. Now, the mechanisms that made it simpler for you to be targeted are being investigated, revealing their vulnerability to manipulation. You have conquered just by overcoming the personalities they tried to impose on you, by continuing to create while they sought to destroy, and by moving forward while they were determined to ruin you. And by assuming that truth does not need a complicated defense, falsehoods finally break under their own weight. A soul tribe. People have flocked around you, bonded not just by a common aim, but also by a resonance that extends beyond mere affiliation. In addition to supporters, there is a deep awakened awareness that extends beyond academic agreement. These are spirits who see something in you and are drawn to something in them. They defend you not out of obligation, but out of a profound knowledge that the assault on you is an attack on truth, the possibilities in your life, and the futures that your voice helps to bring to life, all of which are in accordance with their ultimate goal. They support you. Your soul tribe provides more than simply numbers. Each member brings unique talents, perspectives, and assets, which combine to make a greater defense than any one hero could manage. Some individuals write, while others talk. Some individuals do research, others plan. Some individuals create, and others defend. Together, they form a support system that adapts to each new challenge. Observe how they operate in synchronicity, implying collaboration without the necessity for a central command. They respond to circumstances in such a timely and correct manner that your opponents are perplexed as to how an effective response might emerge, without the hierarchical control they need. This makes the tribe stronger with each hurdle. Unlike conventional coalitions, which dissolve under strain, the hardship intended to separate you actually forges relationships of unprecedented strength among those who comprehend the significance of what occurs. These ties create networks that operate partly via awareness and partially at unseen levels, making them more resilient than your attackers could have predicted. They see qualities in you that are worth protecting, such as vision that expands beyond current limitations and bravery that validates their path and inspires their own authenticity. Their protection of you evolves into a defense of these qualities inside themselves, strengthening both parties in the process. Your adversaries cannot grasp this connection because they have a transactional worldview that only recognizes partnerships based on mutual benefit. They are unable to envision a link based on a knowledge of a shared aim that extends beyond personal gain, since they continuously underestimate the resilience of the support system around them. This blind gap develops into a crucial shortcoming. Now, everything is changed. Individual awakenings unite to build a collective awareness that cannot be undone via any methods available to those who benefited from previous conditions. When momentum swings so dramatically that even those who oppose the change must recognize its reality, your strength was only temporarily obscured by smoke and mirrors that created the illusion of weakness but never genuinely diminished. What emerges from that smoke is stronger than it was before, refined by fire that eats away at everything except the most crucial truth, and tempered by adversity that would have destroyed lesser structures. The assaults meant to define you have instead shown you as a resilient person whose purpose transcends efforts at limiting, and whose impact extends beyond places they try to deny. You and your extraordinary resilience. They reach audiences they unwittingly created via their unwavering focus on eliminating what they couldn't control. And you come out larger rather than smaller. Consider how everything they built against you is now being utilized to your benefit. The forums they used for critique became settings for validation, and the attention they received shifted from criticism to adulation. Your climb is propelled by the same force that brought you down, regardless of the resources employed to support prior tales. They are unable to prevent it. This is a paradigm shift that affects everyone who sees it, not just those who experience personal transformation. When enough awareness connects with bigger truths, systems that were previously thought to be indestructible may be overcome. Your detractors believe they had written your narrative since your path served as a model for others facing similar challenges. Conclusion: they applauded themselves for apparently meticulously plotting your doom, making recovery look impossible. But you're at the beginning of the chapters. They never saw it coming. They never considered themselves to be in a position of authority while being surrounded by friends. They are unable to grasp because of paradigms that limited their viewpoint when they were focused on changing external perceptions. The power you now have extends beyond the realms they can impact. While they used all of their energy maintaining illusions, you connected with sources of power. They are unable to get entry by any of the ways at their disposal. Your unstoppable strength stems from such a deep connection with truth that rejecting it is like to fighting reality itself. Despite transitory advantages, no entity can sustainably conduct this struggle. It is not derived from position, riches, or influence, though all may flow naturally to you. The awareness is increasing as more defenders emerge on a daily basis. Those who organize campaigns against you face unforeseen consequences. They are unable to stop the systems under their control from changing. The reality they desire to suppress spreads across the woodlands. They cannot clear quickly. In order to protect their painstakingly created reality, your moment has come, not via willpower or strategic wisdom, but by the spontaneous emergence of that which has always been inside constructed constraints and is now fading in front of our eyes. The universe itself works in your favor, not as a conclusion, but as the beginning of previously unfathomable chances under the conditions that your opponents fought to maintain. They've had enough of the manipulation and are horrified with what was done to you. Every day passes. Every new discovery, every unsuccessful effort to maintain control over a story that has escaped confinement and is now rewriting itself in line with higher principles than the human agenda. Their numbers grow. They aggressively protect you against those who continue to disseminate misinformation. The gears of the universe turn. The truth comes to light. Justice has been served, and all you need to do now is continue to be yourself.